Originally recorded Wednesday morning and is a paid presentation of Jung's Garden Center. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Good Karma Brands, its management, and its employees.
And welcome to our new edition of the Garden Doctor. 885-4446 is the number to call if you want to get on board. And with me, I trust, is Dick Zondag. Is that you, Dick?
It is.
All right. And we certainly missed you last week. Leah did a wonderful job.
Yeah, Leah's a great garden center manager. Absolutely. She answers a lot of questions in the garden center. So this coming on the Garden Doctor was old hat for her. So
super.
Yeah, I really appreciated her doing that. I was doing a webinar on growing glads for the National Gardening Bureau, and so it kind of conflicted, and I really didn't. Well, I didn't want to turn them down because that's a lot of national advertising for us too.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
So anyway, I'm back
in
the saddle, so to speak.
And what's happening at Jung's?
A lot of things are going on at Jung's. We're closing down the bare root room. It'll be open this week yet, and with the products that are left in the gardens in the bare root room, we're giving 25% off. It's a lot of the fruit trees are still available and some of the other things, but it's starting to run down, and so we're going to be closing it up at the end of the week. And so if you have some things that you'd like to come and see what we have, that would be great. Of course, in the ad that we had just before this, blooming roses, they're they call pot and bloom, bud and bloom. And they're just starting to show a little bit of color, so they would give you color all summer long. And we have them in hybrid teas, grandifloras, floribundas, the knockout roses, and a lot of the other hardy roses. And the perennials are all out now. And, of course, I brought along today some of the hanging baskets.
Oh, sorry, I should mention that you are on DailyDodge TV right now for folks who have a computer. Go ahead, Dick.
And so I brought along 3 of the baskets that I picked out in the greenhouse, and we've got a great supply of hanging baskets. Some of them with petunias, verbena, calabricoa, which is kind of a miniature petunia, and then verbena and double petunias, and they're in their prime right now, and so they're really nice. So come on over. We've got plenty of them, and they'll look really nice in your landscape, whether you hang them on your porch or around the patio. They really add a lot of color. And then, of course, we've got vegetable plants. Time to get those in. I planted some peppers last night. Thought we were going to get rain, but we didn't.
Yeah, I noticed that. Not rainy in Juneau either.
You get these alert days, and they turn into nothing.
Yeah, err on the side of safety.
Yeah, so I was out there putting some peppers in, and of course for your lawns, it's time to get the Crabgrass Preventer on. The Forsythia are starting to show color. And you can still put the first application of fertilizer on to get the grass off and growing. And then the broadleaf weed killer you can either do with application of the fertilums. Forget the product name. But anyway, it's our broadleaf killer. It's Weed Beater Ultra, and it works really well even in the hot days or in the cold days, because the preparation is made for either one, and that would take care of your dandelions and your creeping Charlie and the plantain and some of the other things that you have in your lawn. Sometimes it takes a couple of applications, but just apply it right now. They do their best. It does its best work when the plants are in full growth mode, which they are right now, and get it on, and it'll take care of the weed seed that will come from them if you don't.
All right. We do have a listener patiently waiting, so we'll go to them. And then we have someone who called in a question earlier this morning. First, Let's go to the phones. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, say my grass on the other is between the neighbor's garage and my garage.
Okay.
It's not next to the driveway where it gets salt. It's a bit further back. But anyway, I noticed the neighbors was always kind of brown for a long time, but it turned maybe a little green as the time went on. But mine, all of a sudden, it was 6 feet wide and about 25 feet long, and it's just as brown. It's just like if it had a ton of salt on it and killed it all. Would that be grubs in there?
Well, you'd be able to tell if it's grubs by just grabbing a hold of the grass and pulling on it, and if the roots and everything come up, that would be grubs. But, boy, it seemed kind of early for grub activity. Boy, that's a real mystery, because grass usually, once it's established, is a hard thing to kill.
With, like that.
Yeah.
There's the guy was spraying my neighbors over here, and he came over after he was done, and he was spraying for grubs over by my neighbors there, and he dug in there with his hands and stuff, and he says, yeah, it's grubs. And well, then another guy stopped by, my friend that does a lot of garden stuff and lawn, and he said, no, that's not no grubs in there. I don't know. It seems spongier and heck when you walk on it. It's just like it's no body there to it. But I spread the grass apart in there. I didn't try pulling a bunch out.
What I do is take a shovel and get down about 2 inches in the soil, and if the shovel just kind of slides underneath that grass, then the grubs. See, the grubs, what they're doing is they're eating the root system. They love the fresh root system, those nice white roots, and so what it does is it just kind of severs the root system, and if you've got a lot of them and eating in there, you could actually just grab a hold of the grass and it comes up like a toupee.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you've got to treat with a grubicide and then wait a little while and then reseed it. And
I had about a 20-pound bag here in the garage there, and it says grub control. It kills grubs. It's granules, and it's real fine. And so I meantime, I just took the spreader and I spread that whole works over that area, and then it says water in to get it down in there. Well, now I'm just going to wait to see if that helped. I put some fertilizer on it earlier, you know.
Well, if that grass is as brown as you say it is, it's probably dead. It's probably dead, and you're going to have to reseed it. What I do then is just leave that grass there, because that would act as a nice nurse crop, and just put the grass seed, rake it in so that it gets down to the soil surface, and then pack it down and keep it watered, and then the new grass will come up through the old grass.
About a week ago, I did throw some grass seed on there all over it, but I don't know. I'll have to wait to see if it comes back. If it don't, I'll have to get it sprayed, I suppose.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Yeah. Would Miracle Grow help? That would be with the new stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, if the grass is dead, nothing's going to bring it back to life. You're just going to have to.
But I don't have to dig it up.
No, you don't. You can just reseed over it and keep it watered so that the new seed sprouts. With when you got weather like today, where it's 80 degrees plus outside, the water evaporates quite rapidly, and you may even have to water it twice a day.
Right.
Because the only thing that really kills grass seed is to have it start to germinate and then dry out. So.
Yeah.
But that's the old grass that's there, kind of acts as a nurse crop. So.
Well, all right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for your help.
Yep. Thanks for calling.
Yep,
All right. Thank you for your call. And again, 885-4446 is the number to call if you'd like to get on the air with the Garden Doctor. Both lines are open. Dick, we had a question that a listener had before we went on the air. I wanted to pass along to you. Why won't my tulips bloom? It's been planted for 3 years.
Okay. It's probably because there's not enough energy in the bulb. And that's why we recommend that you fertilize with a bulb booster fertilizer right now, because the tulips most of them are in bloom, and the leaves that are there have to replenish the carbohydrates that it took out of the bulb to make the flower. And if there's not enough energy in that bulb, it won't set a flower initial next fall, and all you'll get is leaves the next year. And so get a bulb booster fertilizer, fertilize them right now, let the leaves on until they come up naturally. What happens with tulips is they form what's called an abscission zone. So when you tug on the green foliage, if it disconnects from the bulb with a gentle nudge, you know that it's time you can get the leaves out of there. But if it feels like your bulb is coming up with leaves, leave it on, because that's the only way that bulb has of replenishing the carbohydrates that it needs to form that flower bud in the fall so that it blossoms in the spring. So fertilize them in the fall and in the spring, and they should come back year after year.
All right, 885-4446-1920. 885-4446 is the number to call. And is it too late to do any kind of pruning?
You're really on the borderline. I mean,
Okay.
You can actually prune any time, but what happens when you're pruning now and maybe even a week from now is that the trees bleed pretty substantially, and it's not going to kill the tree, it's just going to slow it down a little bit. So we recommend that pruning should be done with things that blossom in the summer and the fall. That pruning should be done the pruning of things that blossom in the spring should be done after the blossoms have come, so that you're not cutting your flower buds off. With fruit trees that blossom in the springtime, you can prune those anytime because there's lots and lots of flower buds in a fruit tree. So they, I guess, one time did a study and said that if 5% of the flower buds in an apple tree set, they'd get a heavy crop. So you don't have to have a lot of them. But like with lilacs and mock orange and some of the spring flowering things, if you cut them in the spring, you're cutting your flowers off. You can look at the shrub, and if it has a big blossom, a big bud on the end compared to the ones that go down the side of the shoot, you know that's a flower bud. And so with the fruit trees, you should let them come out now and let the leaves mature. And then you can do pruning like in late June, early July, if you want to do some pruning then to thin the foliage out, maybe to thin the apple crop down. With things that blossom in the summer and late summer, you can prune those anytime because they blossom on new wood. It's like roses. Most of the roses blossom, with the exception of the climbing roses. With most of the roses that you plant for flowers, they blossom on new wood. So as soon as their rose is done flowering, the flower is past prime, you should go back and cut it back to a 5-leaflet leaf, and that way a new bud will come. And with the hardy roses, once the initial bloom is done, get in there and cut those the hips out, because if they set hips, they're going to flower less. And every time you prune it, you get a new flush of growth, and that new flush of growth will get you new flowers.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. 885-4446, the number to call. Let's go to our next caller. You're on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center.
Hi. I would like to know, I have a hydrangea tree that's maybe about 3-4 years old,
Okay.
and it's in the way of a new deck.
Okay?
Can I dig that out with a backhoe and transplant it somewhere else, or is that not possible?
I would say you probably have a 75% chance of it coming through. Take as much of the soil as you can. If you've got a backhoe, make sure that you're digging far enough away from the drip line of the tree so you're getting the feeder roots, and then take as much soil as you can with the roots, and then just have a hole ready for it to drop in, and drop it in and put nice rich soil around that, and then water it and keep it watered pretty heavily for probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, and then back your watering off, and you should be okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for your call. And let's go to the other line. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Hello.
Good morning.
I have a Forsythia shrub that
Okay.
does not have one flower on it, and it hasn't for years.
You probably have
I was just wondering if there's any way maybe cut it back to ground level to get it going.
you probably have a Forsythia that flower buds aren't hardy enough. And so the only thing you can do is dig it up and put a different Forsythia in. There are probably a half a dozen different species of Forsythia, and most of them are not hardy in Wisconsin. The ones that we handle are called Forsythia ovata, and the one that we handle is called meadowlark. And
That's the one I bought. I'm pretty sure I bought it from Jung's about 25 years ago.
No,
it did bloom. I have pictures of it from like 2009 with some, yellow on it this time of year, but I've seen others around the countryside, lately that are just in full bloom right now.
I think 25 years ago we didn't have that cultivar.
Oh.
So I think you've probably got a Forsythia intermedia or a Forsythia, I can't remember what all they are, but the ovata is the genus and species that has somewhat hardy flower buds. So if it hasn't flowered in the last 3 or 4 years, it's probably not going to flower. I guess you're better off to dig it out and put a new one in.
Okay. You said you have those now?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much for your phone call. Both lines are open, 885-4446. So you can have like one type of flower, different variants of that flower. Some work well here, some don't.
Right.
Okay.
There's a bunch of Forsythia where if you're 100 miles south of here are probably much prettier than actually the meadowlark Forsythia, but the flower buds die. They sometimes flower below the snow line, sometimes right at the base of the plant, but most of the time the flower buds disappear. They freeze out, and the plant itself is perfectly hardy, but a Forsythia is just a green shrub to me. If it doesn't have flowers on it in the springtime, it's really not worth having. Although it makes a nice green shrub, there are newer varieties that have hardier flower buds or different leaf variants. So there are other shrubs that are much prettier than a Forsythia that doesn't bloom.
And they're traditionally one of the first bushes to bloom in the spring?
I think the Nanking bush cherry is a little bit earlier than the Forsythia, but Forsythia is one of the first ones to bloom, and I use that as a sort of a test plant for when Crabgrass Preventer should be applied, because by the time the Forsythia are blooming, the soil temperature is usually at the temperature that the crabgrass seeds start to germinate. And so with Crabgrass Preventer, it's a germination inhibitor. It's not something that will kill the crabgrass once it's germinated. So you've got to get it on before the crabgrass starts to germinate, and then it will kill the seed as it's starting to germinate. But if it germinates and it's got some leaves on, or even small leaves on, and you put it on, it's not going to do anything to it.
885-4446, 1920-885-4446 to get on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center in Randolph. Our vanilla, I guess it's called what, the vanilla strawberry hydrangea?
Right.
I just cut off below last year's blooms.
Right.
There's a lot of growth coming up all the way up the. So was that the right thing to do?
Yes, it is, because the strawberry, there's a lot of them that have strawberry in them. Mm-hmm. That's a paniculata hydrangea, and that blossoms on new wood. So taking the old flower buds off, you can do it in the fall or the spring, and it's not going to affect the blossoming of the plant.
What about the blue and purple kind of ones?
Hydrangeas are my least favorite question to answer. Yeah, the micro, some of the hydrangeas that are very prevalent in the landscape, the flower buds are on the hydrangea before it goes into the winter, so it blossoms on old wood. So if you do any pruning in the springtime or in the late fall, you're cutting your flowers off. Like the Annabelle, and there are a lot of the blue one, and Endless Summer is one of those, and Endless Summer is one of the first ones that blossom both on old and new wood. So you get your spring flowers, but then you also get sprinkling of flowers late in the fall on the new wood. So the hydrangeas have been crossbred and inbred and hybrid, and they've come up with so many different variations that it's really hard to know exactly when to prune them unless you know what to look for. And what you have to look for is in the springtime, if you go out and you look at the stem before the leaves start to come out, and there's a big fat bud at the end of each stem, you know that it's a spring blooming hydrangea, and you prune those after they've blossomed. Because if you prune them in the springtime, you're cutting your flowers off, because that big fat bud is the flower bud. But, there are so many variations of hydrangea. Right. I don't like to answer hydrangea questions.
I'm deeply sorry, Dick, that I brought up the H word.
Yeah.
885-444-461920, 885-4446, the number to call. Is now a good time to just throw seed on the lawn?
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to be doing a little bit of seeding. I had some spots where it's always do as I say and not as I do, because I had some higher spots in my lawn that rather than trying to adjust them, I just scraped some of the soil off so that I wouldn't have to have a big cushion on my lawnmower.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be seeding those almost immediately, and then putting hay or straw over them and keeping them watered. So, yeah, it's not too late to put seed on. We still have some cool weather ahead of us. I guess next week it's supposed to be in the 60s. So,
right.
This is extraordinary. I mean, to go from the 30s and 40s to 80s and 90s or something, that's not usual, and it's not, well, I'm not going to even say that.
Does that hinder or help plants? Are there like certain varieties that, it's so cold and then all of a sudden, boom, it's so hot?
Well, it doesn't hurt them as long as we don't go back into the 20s into the 30, low 30s.
Right.
Because once those plants start to grow, it's like the greenhouse plants. We keep them growing all spring long with heat in the evening so that they don't go below freezing. Well, actually, we keep higher than below freezing. But if you put a greenhouse-grown plant out and it gets down to that 30 to 20 degrees, it's toast, because it's not. It's past the time when it can handle the cold weather. So, and like with the baskets that I have here, if you've going to have, you put them out, and we're going to have it. A night where the temperature is going to go below 30 degrees, you just take them off the porch and put them in the garage, and there's enough heat in the garage that they're not going to freeze overnight. And with plants that you put in the ground, if they're nice and green and you've gotten them from a greenhouse, like I said, I planted peppers last night. If we're going to get into the 20s, just take a blanket and throw it over them. And there's enough heat stored up in the ground to keep that plant from freezing.
All right. Again, I think we're about out of time because we'll be joining the Milwaukee Brewers Radio Network right at 11 o'clock. Again, Dick, tell us what's happening at the store.
Okay, well, Beirut ends this week, 25% off on anything that's in the Beirut area. Our potted nursery yards are full. The perennial area is full. Greenhouse is full of annuals. I brought along some hanging baskets that are just gorgeous. Will add color to your landscape. Of course, your lawn, you can fertilize and put the Crabgrass Preventer on, and in a week or two, when the dandelions become active, then you can use your broadleaf killers. And so there's lots of stuff that can be done now, and get your lawn and your gardens looking beautiful for the summer. So store hours in Randolph, 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturday, and of course we're not open on Sunday. The other stores, Madison, Stevens Point, Appleton, it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturday, and 10 to 4 on Sunday.
How is that new store doing up in Appleton?
Less than I expected, but it's still doing fine. I think it's just a matter that you have to be there for a while before
Right.
people know that you're there.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little disappointing, but not bad.
Not bad. Okay.
No.
Well, as always, Dick, it's a pleasure having you over, and thank you for all the tips that are in boom this time of year. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thank you, John.
All right, and that, again, is the Garden Doctor for today.
The